Final episode. It's been an amazing day. I know I had a handful of notes. Make sure I don't forget those, by the way. Thank you. This is an amazing group of professionals, once again, donating their time with us today to share what has been the secret with them that's made them a top originator. The good part about it, everybody has a little bit of a different story, different time in the industry, something that I believe that you'll be able to relate with and take home. So let's get started with you, my friend. Let's get a little origin story about when did you get in this industry. Tell us a little bit about how you got into it and what got you up here today on this panel.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I got into the industry back in 2012, really not knowing where my career would take me. A buddy who was doing a bunch of HARP refinances said, "Hey, I'm doing great in mortgages, come with me." So I was like, all right, cool, let me look into it. Went to work at his shop. He ended up having some personal stuff, ended up leaving the mortgage business right away, and so I was just kind of on my own at that point, looking for another company to join. I got in touch with some guys in my market that were really big on purchase business, and we just branded for realtors, and really just made a focus on purchase business and working with a network of people that we become friends with. And my wife and I met a few years later, and we said, why live in Chicago anymore? And we said, let's just pick up our bags and move somewhere where we want to really live, which was San Diego. And from that, we just kind of branded ourselves as SD Mortgage Couple. So if you could find us on Instagram, SD Mortgage Couple. And that's where we do a lot of our social media, just as Shane just talked about, just being our organic self online and sharing some mortgage stories and sharing a little bit about us and really putting out that content to have people come out to us.
Just being authentic, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I think that's the biggest. If you've watched anybody up here today doing social media, doing the things that they're growing their business, you're going to notice similarities with all of us. Anybody who's ever been a top producer, exactly like Shane said, you are authentic. People want to work with people they know, like, and trust, right? Everything about that we've learned here so far in these last 3 days has been about being your authentic self, to be able to get to the point to where, yeah, it's amazing. Being a top producer means you're helping more people help more people. So I'm excited to dig in a little bit more on some of the granular aspects of what got you up here on this stage. So I'm going to come back to you on that one. Major, tell us why, for you, what has made people know, like, and trust you after you give us an introduction, of course, of who you are. And let's not forget, how long you've been in the industry, right? You're a longtime veteran?
Yeah, September 28th, made 3 years. So, it's been a fun ride. I really enjoyed it. I got into the industry. I was a commander at a military base. And, I actually wasn't the commander. I was the second in command. And I had a junior guy who invited a mortgage guy to speak at my command. If you're military and you've ever been in command, you're very protective over the information that gets out. So I got notified about 15 minutes before this guy showed up at my command that he was going to teach about mortgages. So I had to go in this room and sit there for an hour and a half to hear about the VA home loan and make sure he didn't say anything crazy and try to sell my people on something. So I told him, I sat in there, great presentation, and I said, hey, as this time goes by, when I'm ready to retire, I may come look you up and see if we can do something together. And as time went on, that did happen. Navy called me up one day and said, hey, we have a great job for you. We're going to send you to the Pentagon for a year. And that's when I would know it was time to depart, because I'm not a Pentagon type of guy. So I retired and went to work for a retail company. I did that for about a year and a half, then transitioned over to the broker side. So my brand is VA Loans. That got me into the industry. Just educating. I do have an education platform where I educate veterans and realtors about VA loans, just in many different ways. But being the local expert in those things and helping people understand in a way that's tangible for them to understand. We have part of our education that goes to realtors, part that goes to the veteran. Those are structured in many different ways, or in different ways to communicate something. But it's been what has really helped to propel me in the business.
That's it. And let's not, 3 years into the industry, leveraging the network that you've built from being a leader, right? I mean, to come in, and if I'm not mistaken, your first year in the industry was $121 million in production in your first year. I mean, this is coming in without the knowledge of the pain, where I said, you know, on one of my presentations I gave earlier, we have originators that just came into this business within a year. They don't know this stuff. Like, sometimes we get tainted, as we were so used to 2.5%, 3%, and now it's like, effort is always going to equal results. The effort you've put in, and we're gonna dive in. I wanna talk when we come back on the niche, on the medium. Like, what is it that you're using to communicate that message? How did you capture the sphere of influence that you had that was in a completely different industry? So think about that, and I'm gonna come back to you. Let's hear, introduce yourself, let our attendees know who you are, and how is it that people know, like, and trust you that earned you a spot today on our top producer panel?
Yeah, so I got in the industry about 4 years ago. Was in college, played college sports, loved it, was phasing out of that, and up to that point in my life, sports was everything. I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I was gonna go do Wall Street. Finance is what I graduated in, it's what I entered in, and then had a kid my last year of college and kind of flipped my world on the upside down a little bit. Didn't want to go do 80-hour work weeks in Wall Street. So started looking around, got into the mortgage world, and I just stumbled into the broker world. I had no idea what it was. I didn't know what I was getting into. Just found a local shop in Utah where I was at, and I was there for 6 months before I moved back home to Idaho. And at that shop, I was there for about 6 months. They were awesome, nothing ill about it, but once I moved away, I realized I wanted to start my own thing. So I started up my own shop with my business partner, Brett, and we opened doors February of 2020. Next month, everything went insane. And then we just had to kind of roll with the punches, figure it out. And it's been a crazy 3-4 years, but it's been a lot of fun. We've been growing, and Idaho didn't have a real broker presence. And I honestly think that's a lot of the success that came. I feel like there's a lot of luck in this industry. Yes, you can work hard, you can do everything. But at that time, there wasn't many brokers in Idaho. And so we came into an industry, and Boise was growing like crazy, and we just took advantage of it and went for it.
Just dominated the market. I like it. That's what brokers do. Let's hear about what is it that has earned you the spot here, being a top producer, getting people to know, like, and trust you.
Well, I've been in the business a really long time. I've always been in wholesale. I never went over to retail. I didn't see why. Once you start as a broker, it didn't really make sense why I'd want to go somewhere and make less and charge higher, points and rates. It wasn't logical. I think just being in the business 23 years is, people know who I am. I'm honest. I work with a lot of integrity, and I think that over time, clients remember that. Yep.
So just managing your database is how those past clients, because obviously I think you and I have been in the industry roughly the same time.
Yeah.
I got in I've been 22 years, you're 23 years. Naturally, if you're tending to your database and you're making those connections, it's like rolling a snowball downhill. You are going to, if you're doing a job tending to that field, the crops will keep coming. What are you doing to stay pertinent or to grow new business now? Is it social media? Is it community events?
I need to do better at social media. I've learned a lot here, actually, from the other panelists. I focus too much about, my appearance or how I sound, or, the tonality wasn't right, so I'm just gonna wing it and hopefully it'll go well. But how I kind of stay afloat in markets like these is referral business. Yeah. And I stay on top of my book of business. So I have close to about 12,000 clients that I service, and I speak to them in up markets. 2021, it was probably every 6 months or so, 6 to 8 months, but now it's every 3 months. I call every birthday. I've done over a dozen loans for many, many clients. So they always come back because they know who I am.
That's beautiful. And given a great service to where it just continues growing,
Absolutely.
growing your reputation. Excellent. Jason, tell me, for you, I think you have a little bit of a different twist that a lot of brokers shy away from, right?
Yep.
Tell us, one, just introduce yourself to the crowd here, but tell us a little bit then about what it is that you do that's different, and especially the mindset around where you're finding success that others lean away from.
Yeah, so I'm Jason Kindler with First Coast Mortgage Funding, Northeast Florida.
Yeah.
I've been in the business since 2001. I started off in the broker side of the business. So I started as a broker, And then in 2010, the broker shop that I was running in Atlanta, we were acquired by a bank, like many companies went through at that time. So we were acquired by a bank, and then I was in retail up until the point where I actually was recruited to go to run a builder mortgage company. So my twist in this is that a lot of brokers, I hear it's as soon as they hear builder and you know, you've got a client pre-qualified and they're going to a builder, the sentiment is, oh man, right? Well, come here. I mean, we've been doing this basically on the broker side. Sorry, going back on it on the builder mortgage company that did that for about 2 years, and then decided, and I was at that crossroads where my business partner and I decided we're either going to go to a P&L retail model or the broker side. And thank God we went the broker side. So, but as far as the builder business goes, I've closed over 100 builder loans every year for the last X number of years. So that's the twist I'm going to talk about.
So let's dive in a little bit, right?
Sure.
Because I know I've learned a wealth of knowledge from you. I served on an advisory panel with you at one point. It was the first time even I had, I would say, the same thing that a lot of us do. Well, they have a preferred lender. I'm going to see a rate 2% lower. I mean, sometimes we're our own worst enemies, right? We get in our own way, making preconceived notions of what we think or we believe is out there. What has been the niche like for you? How do you get in the door, right? To be able to even have that conversation and say, hey, would you consider me one of your preferred lending partners, and how do you continue to support them?
So hopefully I'm going to kind of break it down to where it's not, if you try to call up the division manager and say, hey, I'm Jason, I want an appointment, you will fail miserably. That is not how to do it. But what you want to do is the success that I've had is being the second look. I want to be the second look. I want to save the day when the preferred builder drops the ball. Now, who do you go after is I would start with the site agents. So how do you get in front of the site agents? Couple things that we did and have been a member of for a long time, but especially on the broker side is join, we have Northeast Florida Builders Association. Okay, so most of your cities probably have a builders association that's local. All the people are there. The site agents go, usually some of the management goes and everything like that. But imagine if you're, especially in this market, it's not 2021, but imagine if you're a site agent, you have a client that signed with they own their own mortgage company, and so they're going with them, and 30 days before closing, credit drops, something like that happens. This client has been building a house for 8 months. Now the site agent's like, there goes my paycheck. Now I got to resell this house. So the way to get in is basically you've got to build a relationship with the site agent. So the site agent is your key to get in. So that's the angle that I would go after. The other thing is we all, our goal is usually the realtor, right? Everybody's after the same realtors or whatever. Well, when you have a preferred realtor, does your realtor sell new construction? They probably, they most likely in our area at least, they sell a lot of new construction. So if they own their own, if the builder owns their own mortgage company, why not? The site agent wants the realtor in the office. If you have a good relationship with a realtor, why not ask that realtor, hey, can you introduce me to a site agent? So that would be another way to get in on that.
That's awesome. So are you providing value to them as well? Because obviously being a broker, we have way more options than what most of their preferred, if they own their own mortgage company. They're typically only either doing basic GSE sponsored loans. Are you then presenting them options with bank statement loans, all of the different things? Or is it more about building, the reputation for you as a person more than products? So
it can be both ways. I think at this point now, where I've been doing a lot of builder business for the last 12 years, I know all the site agents. I know everyone in our area, and so I am known, and our team is known as being a good resource for builder business, because it's not exactly like resale. right? The fees are different. Everything's a little different. So that is one way that you can go about that. But niche products. So when non-QM started back, when DSCR, when all that stuff started, well, builder lenders do not do that.
No.
So we created a niche products presentation specifically for the builders. Where we can either drop that off or email it to them and say, hey, here's who we are.
That's excellent. I mean, once again, sometimes I wish I had a notepad. He's telling us where to get in to create these relationships, right? We all have local builder associations in our own community. I can tell you for one, I've never went. And that's something as an originator for myself, why would you not be there? Especially being positioned as a broker that gives you that opportunity to not only help them, but help a consumer. The bank statement loans for self-employed people, so many options that you can provide value. You can't even have that conversation if you're not in the right room.
Right.
So thank you for sharing that. I always like to ask people, and superpower, right? Like for you have been in this long enough, 23 years, right? Doing an amazing job. People know, like, and trust you. What would you say your superpower is as an originator, the thing that sets you apart? And just so you guys are aware, I like authentic, so I didn't prep her for this question.
Yeah.
So if it's much, I'll let you pass and come back.
No.
But I
No,
want to
it's
hear,
fine.
like, to me, if you're up here, you're used to high pressure. You guys know how hard loans are. Even doing 1 or 2 a month, that's why you see people out in the hallways making calls nonstop. Tell me what you think your superpower is that sets you apart.
I think my superpower is follow-up. Like, I won't stop until they're like, you're harassing me.
Yes.
And then I'll send them a Starbucks gift card, and then they'll call me, and then it starts again.
Yeah.
So I don't quit. Like, I don't know how to quit.
Just relentless.
Just until
I like that.
they're mine, yeah.
Effort always
Always.
gets results.
Always.
That's awesome. For you switched from, so you came in brand new into the broker channel, right? Just decided to dive all in a market that was not heavy broker at all. I mean, you said that you were one of the first ones there. I know for me at first, and this has changed a lot, and I think it's due to our community and what we've been spreading to where now people actually search out brokers to work with. But if you've been in the industry, after the collapse in 2007, 8, for a while there, we had a bad name. I mean, it was like people would say, oh, I don't work with brokers, or I don't. It's changed now, thankfully, and that's a lot due to the message that we're all helping spread, that we are better for consumers and we do serve them. But I'm curious for you, going into a new market where broker was not prevalent, did you have any hurdles to overcome with the partners that you acquired in really a short period of time? What were some of those conversations like?
Yeah, brokers had a terrible rep inside of Idaho when we got there, just because no one had really mass marketed the broker name inside of Idaho in years. And so every single time you'd hear the same things we held. That retail panel was exactly what we hear every single day.
Yeah.
And the hardest thing is every loan officer will promise the world inside those lunch and coffee meetings, and you've got to execute. And so creating a name for yourself inside the community where people know that you can close quick, you can communicate all the stuff, the basics, was something that took a while, especially when you're starting in 2020 and refis are going, we can't hire processors. Like, it was difficult to get the service levels where we wanted them to be and simultaneously still go out and market. And so we had to get creative with BDRs and a lot of other ways to get business.
Yes.
But yeah, so the education aspect, we did lunch and learn, seminars, broker opens, like we did so much education for the first 2 years to try to get the messaging out that brokers are better.
That's awesome. Major, when you spoke earlier, you talked about your military past, coming into an industry where you probably never thought, and maybe you did, I've never asked you this question, but you probably never thought you were trying to leverage all the people that you were leading, right? I mean, you were up pretty high after serving 30 years in the military. Tell me what has been like the most impactful thing for you to where if you're coming from a different industry or you're interviewing a loan officer coming from a field where they were at a job for 30 years, what did you do to present? I know we do social media, but I want to get a little deeper, right? What are you doing to really get that image to the people that you used to know?
I mean, you mentioned social media, but I mean, first of all, I will tell you that when I was in the military, it was 23 years, not 30, couldn't
Sorry.
make it that long.
Probably felt like 30, right? I mean, that's
But, you know, when I do my social media, I really don't care about, I really think about the people who I served with. So I'm not thinking about going viral or something like that. I'm just putting out information to people who I served with. So at the end of my career, one of the big problems that we had was there was this big blow up on in base housing at the military station I was at, and they had like fuel in the water in base housing. So you know, I started telling people, hey, why not just live off a base? And educating people about that. So when I did my social media, I really think about that. What do people need to know? What do they need to understand from my tribe? Okay, so that's marketing to the consumer, to direct to the consumer. My marketing to realtors is totally different, okay? But when I talk about marketing to the consumer, my social media, every video, everything I put out is marketed in such a way where it connects with the story or something of somebody I served with. Not just, you know, blasting stuff out there. And my social media, if you follow me on social media, Major Money Matters, if you follow me on social media, you would think that I'm a social media guy. I am not. Shout out to Kyle Draper. He takes care of all of my social media stuff. He's amazing.
Yes.
His team does. I do a video. That's all I do. And they take care of the rest. But it's structured in such a way where I connect with the person who's the service member or the veteran, and tell a story or something that they want to know.
Yep. You have found success though, like when we say social media, and maybe this is just my mindset, I think Facebook and Instagram, right? I've seen for you, you've used different mediums.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to get with this is you've been big on YouTube,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And you have not only a good following, but longer content, right? You do short content in this industry, longer content. How has that been? Do you think that YouTube, we've heard about it all today. The last one was amazing. We saw some amazing stats, places where we can get, really you're being paid to advertise yourself. I mean, it doesn't get any better.
Right.
How has YouTube been for you? Is that something that you would suggest if our brokers that are out here right now are not using it? What advice would you have for us?
So when people normally find me, they find me on Instagram or TikTok. Little known fact, I've never logged into TikTok. My assistant does it. I can barely spell TikTok. But you know, my YouTube videos are chopped up and then put on those mediums. So you have snippets of your YouTube videos that go onto those mediums, and the Instagram and the TikTok leads people to the longer form video where the total story is told or all the details are told in a YouTube video. So everything kind of leads them to YouTube, and when they contact me, they've already watched a YouTube video on VA assumptions or on, you know, building multifamily with a VA loan or something like that. They already watched the video, and they're calling me saying, hey, I found you here, I already watched the video, I want to talk more about that. So it's the connection between the two. I very rarely do individual Instagram things. Except it's something fun. But most of my stuff is kind of chopped up and linked between my
Quick, digestible, and
Absolutely.
One of the things that I know that is always covered, having the captions, right?
Yep.
As the majority of us, if we're watching it, you might be in the crowd today watching one. It happens. Like those are the times too where there's massive stats. I know it's been covered throughout our event. Let's get into the granular aspect for you. When was the time that it changed for you to where, unless you came out crushing it, the majority of us, it took a while to build before we really catch gas, right? When was that for you, and what would you say that you could identify that you started doing differently or something that really helped you catch fire to be a leader in the industry?
It's pretty easy. It's when we switched to being a broker in 2019.
Yes.
Went from what I call having handcuffs on to really being able to align myself with a company like C2 that allows us to not only price sharp, also run our own business. So when I'm able to run my own business, I'm the one that's responsible for that business. So, taking that responsibility on myself and for my brand, and then we focus more because we're able to take the money that we have been earning with our commissions and invest that back into our business with events.
Yeah.
Events really doing belly to belly with our target market, which is realtors, that we identify through social media and who we want to be with. We go, make sure we seek them out, and we go belly to belly.
Yeah.
We drink with them, we invite them to places that we're going. We have to become best friends with them. We host baseball games, softball games, do things for their kids. It's all about being basically a family member for your
being a friend, right?
Family member.
Somebody
friend,
to where if you're doing business with somebody, it's the same. I hate to keep repeating myself, but the best agents that we have are those that know, like, and trust us. And if you're not creating an environment to give you that opportunity, it's almost impossible, right? So with the events, I mean, you mentioned a couple of the things. What is the like, if you could give a tip to where, like, I shared my idea with pumpkins when I was speaking, like Halloween's coming, so I thought it was relevant. Give me an idea of what has been an event for you that's been the most impactful for setting up an environment that is right for culture, cultivating relationships.
I mean, one thing that's really easy is just piggybacking on things that's in your community. So there's a business club in our market, for example, that a lot of people like to go to. They host events once a month with hundreds of people in the room. I invite people that I want to do business with to that party. I brand it as something that I'm working with, with them, and it's easier to get more people in the room. So getting 10 or 15 people that you can get in front of for 10 or 15 minutes with some really good FaceTime is just very impactful for your time.
It's amazing. And I think one of the things that I know for a fact all of you do, after those connections, right, after you have an event like that, what does your follow-up game plan look like? Like, what are the pieces? And this is where I think a lot of people, I'll just be honest, this is where they fail, right? If you go out and you have, you're gonna spend the money to have a party, to create an environment, and you capture that information, what are you doing afterwards, right? Like, what are you doing to be able to make sure that you're maximizing the reputation that you gained in that situation, maximizing the exposure for your brand, and continuing to get people to know you better?
You still have to touch them. I mean, my wife is really the main component of kind of like, the feel goods, the warm belly touches. She'll follow up with the girls that she meets with, like, hey, kitty cat, it was great meeting with you. Let's go grab drinks or something. It's just continually just putting things out there so that they feel like they're your friend.
That's it. Intentional, right?
Very intentional.
Growth, and even the last gentleman that was up here that shared, like, yeah, I post this, but it takes a little bit of time, but it's always intentional. Good. Jason, fun question for you.
Sure.
We're coming into, right now we're only a couple days, 8 days into the fourth quarter, right? This whole event for AIME Fuse this week was sports related. I've had the privilege of knowing you well enough to know that you will have an answer for this, right? Goals. I think all of us set goals right now to where we're not only thinking about, hey, how did we finish out 2023? Because there's still time to finish strong. It's fourth quarter. How are you this year for your goals? And what are the things that you set as your expectations on the controllable aspects, right? It'd be great to say, yes, I've always helped 100 home builders. I'm gonna help 200. Sometimes the market can dictate whether or not we're, on that type of goal. Share with me your goals as an individual, as a company owner, not only for fourth quarter that you're still attempting to hit, but also going forward into next year.
So I think that as far as the numbers goal, I mean, that's one facet of everything. I can tell you that we're a little bit off as a company. We're very close to 2022 numbers as a company. Individually, down from that. However, in the builder world, there's a lot that happens in between now and the end of the year. So we don't know that just yet. I think one of the things that I've focused on is that if I do have a preferred lender relationship and have for a number of years with a builder, and so one thing that I've tried to do other than going after realtors is keep focusing and pounding on the same builders. And as of 2 weeks ago, it's the second largest home builder in the country. We were announced that we are the preferred lender in Northeast Florida.
And we can give you a round of applause for that. We celebrate each other's success.
Yeah, so that's huge because last quarter they sold 600 homes. So you got to think out of 600 homes, if we're the other preferred lender, that we should get a lot of shots at the ball. So
Absolutely. I think you shared a stat one time of how many people actually end up going with the builder's preferred lender, right? Now, do you remember offhand? I won't hold you to a firm number, but wasn't it like there's only 37% is what I remember offhand that actually end up going through the builder's?
yeah. So right now, in this go back to the COVID, 2021. I mean, builders weren't given any incentives. Right. So on the flip side of that is where I'm a preferred and I get incentives. The builder's not given anything. So now you're fighting for that as the preferred. So never, always look at the incentives. With the builders that I represent, each subdivision has different incentives. So it could be 30,000 over here and 6,000 over here. So look at that because you can make that up. Now, right now, builder incentives tend to be huge, right? Especially on the national side. However, you just get entrenched in your local market, figure out who owns their own builder, company, or own their own mortgage company, and who doesn't.
Love it. So same thing, I think we all set goals, right? And I know as professionals, we are always trying to get better. For you, what are some of the goals that you've set either for the rest of this year, for next year? What are one of the things that you want to try to be intentional on to make your business better than what it already is?
I think social media. It
Yep.
seems like that's where marketing is kind of headed. I'm a refi gal, that's my jam because it's fast,
Yeah.
quick. But I still have relationships with those people because I do them over and over and over again. So I think, social media to kind of get in front of more people,
You're in
newer
the
people.
right place.
Yeah,
You got
it was
so much
amazing.
knowledge on that.
I
that
really
it's,
did. I really did.
That's awesome. Let's hear for you. Tell me some of the things that you set for goals for yourself, for your company, and especially even going into next year. Like, what are some of the things that you are hoping to improve on as somebody who's already operating at a high level in a market that doesn't have a lot of brokers? Tell me what some of your goals are for this coming year.
Yeah, social media has been a big one. I jumped on social media actively posting every day a couple months ago, and it has brought a ton of business, 10, 15 leads a week kind of a thing. Now, conversion's not as great, but social media is a big one. The other one, though, are BDRs. So I kind of mentioned it before, but BDRs have been integral into my business. I think they're extremely underutilized inside the broker model.
BDRs.
Business Development Representative.
Thank you.
So
I know it, but some people
Yep,
that
no, you're good.
hear initials, we have so many in our industry.
So I was actually at AIME probably 3 years ago, and I think it was Brendan that said a comment. We heard a variation of it yesterday, I think, but it said, set a goal for 30 days. At the end of 30 days, if you're not achieving that goal at 100% and you need it in your business, either delegate it or automate it. And so at the time in 2020, I set a goal that 75% of my time, 30 hours a week, had to be prospecting. And prospecting was either cold calling, networking, or follow-up after the networking. And I didn't hit that goal 30 days later, and so I had to figure out how to create a system that someone else would do that for me. And that was kind of became the birthplace of what was the BDR. At the time, I'd never heard of it. It's now used in the industry a little bit. But now I have someone who loves it. Like, he'll come in at lunch fired up. I'm trying to figure out why he's so excited. He said, I set a new record. I made 120 phone calls this morning. I'm like, good on you, man. Like, that's what you love.
Yes.
And so there's people that will do this for me, setting appointments, doing the follow-up after, so that someone is always prospecting my business 40 hours a week. And being able to do that and take that, and there was a huge ego issue at first. Like, no one can call as good as me. No one has my scripts. No one does follow-up. And I had to realize pretty quickly there are people that are better at that than me.
Yes.
And so I had to get all my scripts down, all the objections I went through. I have 17 points of follow-up that hits them in their DMs, and it leaves a review, and Facebook and text and email. And so I got it all automated out and just handed it to this BDR and said, here's everything you need to do, start going. And that's really what helped me start to grow. Like, you can't do 5, 10, 15, 20 loans a month and then also prospect 30 hours a week. It just doesn't work. And so the goal has been to build that program up. We hired another one 2 weeks ago, Corey. He's killing it. I think he sent me 27 appointments in his first 2 weeks. We hired him 2 weeks ago. So I want to continue to build out that program, this BDR program, and continue to fine tune it. because I've seen so much success in it. And honestly, like that sounds big picture. You don't need to have someone on your payroll paying $50,000. Get together with 4 other loan officers, split it with them, say, hey, you do an hour for him, hour for him, hour for her, hour for her. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be a payroll that you're covering. Get with a couple loan officers, build it out, say, I'll give you $1,000 a deal for every one that you bring me, make it extremely high commission, not BIPS oriented, flat dollar, make sure we're not breaking any rules. But start to figure out how to become a business owner and really make that mind shift change to have other people work on your business, even if you're just a loan officer, not just the business owners.
Need it to scale, buddy. That's solid. I really like that. Major, for you, for goals, share with us, already achieving things that, I'll be honest, I think it took me 15 years in the industry before I hit my first $100 million a year in production.
So
Tell me what it is for not only this year, but next year as well.
So my thing, so me and my family relocated to another area about a year ago. So we had to, everything that we had built, we had to basically rebuild in another part of the country. And because, I wanted to keep that part of the business going, I pretty much, built it where my assistant, she's licensed, she kind of maintains that, and I have to build influence in another area because nobody knows who I am in an area where the previous area I was the #1 broker in that state. So, we have to build all over again. So I started with title companies. There's only one group of people collectively that want to be in front of agents more than you. That's title companies. So I started having lunch with title companies. And I would ask them, the sales and marketing person, hey, who's your VA guy? When you think of VA loans, well, who do you think about? Nobody. They have companies that do VA loans, but I say, who do you think about when you think of VA loans? And none of them had an answer. This is Dallas, Texas. And I said, okay, great. So I'm your VA guy from now on. I'm a VA guy. I want to teach a VA class at your title company, and I want to do this. So we have a goal to do 10 VA loan classes for realtors by the end of the year. So it's about influence for me because that's the beginning, and I'm not the VA guy. It is how I get them into the door. So I get them in talking about VA loans. Then we have a follow-up where we talk about doing business with brokers, the broker advantage. We invite them to a Zoom meeting. We have a conversation about the broker advantage. Remember, they came to talk about VA loans. Now we're talking about something totally different because I don't just want their VA business. I want all their business. And I tell them that. I want all their business. So, we start with VA. Many times it is a VA referral. Get it done, close in 2 weeks, no big deal. Let's move on to the next thing. And then they start sending me to FHA, to conventional. I actually have 2 commercial deals that are under contract right now, a total of $8 million, with people who came to a VA loan class. They had, hey, can you do commercial? Yeah, sure, whatever, let's do it. So that starts the pipeline to get them in. So we have a goal to do 10 more before the end of the year because we're trying to build influence in another part of the nation.
That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. Share with us your goals for this year and next year. What are some of the things that you have your eyes set on that you want to win at this year?
For sure, I want to set basically a course of action to implement AI just to be more efficient with my business. The less time you could spend doing meaningless tasks and being able to automate that's then a multiply and really light on fire what we do best, which is doing loans, talking to real estate agents, putting out education. So if we could simplify things, here in the future with AI, that's really something that I want to focus some of my time on here in the rest of 2023 to have it built out for 2024.
I love it. I love it. We're just about wrapped up. I'm going to leave you with one question to ask. Yeah. If you had something to say to an audience in front of 2,000 people that could inspire them as we're wrapping up an amazing mortgage conference, as a leader, I think all of us here not only lead the families that we serve that we're helping on financing, I know a lot of us on the stage have larger teams that help support. What could you give our audience today that you think would be most impactful?
So AIME has done a ton for, when my partner and I decided to go the broker channel. So I think it's the biggest thing that these conferences do. You collaborate with people, you meet people, you get ideas and things like that. So What I've put together on my end is if you go to my website, which is jasonkindler.page, so jasonkindler.page, I've put, if I was to walk into a sales meeting with a builder, this is the presentation that I would present to them. So if you go on there, you just link up and it's yours.
Excellent. Now, we're just about over time. I ran over last, so we're going to make it quick, but I want to hear it. Give us something quick that you would love to tell our audience before we leave today.
I think one of the most important things is time blocking your day. As a loan officer or as a leader, we tend to kind of get pulled in every direction. So if you time block your day, you can get to everything and be 100% present during that time. So I don't take, calls from my team all day long. I have a two-hour window where they can reach me. When I'm originating, I'm only originating. My teenage daughter knows not to interrupt me while I'm originating. So just kind of spending that time to create a calendar that works for you, whatever you start or whenever you want to end, I think that that's one of the most important things, and it's going to change your business for sure.
Love it.
Don't be afraid to invest in your business. I feel like it's hard right now in this market that we're in, that a lot of us are pulling back, but it's kind of the time to go deploy resources in a way. Like the BDR thing I said, you have to be in front of 2 to 3 times as many realtors to keep your volume from last year, this year. You don't have time to do that. And so you need to capitalize on other people's time sometimes to get your business there. And then don't be afraid to hire people and delegate tasks that you may not be the best at. Yes, you can create scripts, you can create follow-up stuff. Some of that stuff I talked about, I'm happy to give it to any of you. Like DM me and I can give it to any of you, but make sure that you create your scripts, your follow-up, and then delegate it to the others so that you can continue to grow in any market and don't be scared of the market we're in.
Love it. Major?
I would say be more intentional about asking for business. And many people don't get business because they don't ask for it. If you do something and it's a banged up job and you get it closed quickly and it's smooth and everything, ask that realtor. And I am very frank with realtors. When I'm at the closing table, everything goes well. And I say, man, that was amazing. They're like, yeah, man, that was great, man. That was quick and everything. I said, great. This is why you need to be sending me all of your business. And I say it just like that. And they sometimes laugh.
Yes.
But I said, yeah, I'm serious. You need to be sending me all your business. And it's asking for business. If you have a great conversation with someone, even if they don't qualify, if the buyer doesn't qualify, you ask them, hey, do you think, is there someone else that would benefit from a conversation just like this?
Yep.
They say, yeah, I got a friend, I got a family I'm looking to buy. Even if they don't qualify and they got to wait a while to qualify, hey, they have people that they're talking to that want to buy a house also. You have to be more intentional about asking for business in order to get business.
Love it. Closed mouths don't get fed.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Know your guidelines. If you don't know the rules of the business, you're just an order taker. So if you know how to do deals that other people can't, you can convey that message. Your people are going to come to you as being the source. So if you're putting out information or you're a little wrong on a calculation or you don't know exactly how Fannie interprets something versus Freddie and you blow a deal because you locked it with the wrong agency, you have to know your guidelines. Loan Officer 101.
Yep, got to be an expert. That's excellent. We're going to wrap. Thank you all so much for being here. Let's give them a round of applause.